All right, y'all. So, welcome to the very first episode of 120 Days of Not Giving a Fuck. What I want to accomplish in this series, I want to inspire a lot of people who follow the journey, who've been kind of scared and afraid to put their content out here to show the world what they're really about. Like, I got a lot of family members who are considering getting out here in the social media space and going after their passions, but in reality, they're actually afraid, okay? They're just pretty much afraid of what we're all afraid of, which is everybody else's opinions. And so that's why the purpose of this series here is to kind of encourage everybody to not give a fuck about other people's opinions, so that way we can stride out here together. Society is changing. We need to get ourselves in front of other people. And I was reading that we are all our own media company. Okay. What that means is 20 years ago, in the 1980s, 1990s, pretty much getting yourself out here was difficult, okay? Because you had to pay for promotion. You had to pay to be on TV, pay to get on radio, print newspaper, billboards. That type of press is expensive. Now in 2019, we don't have to pay for that press anymore. I can make one post on Facebook and I can have a friend accidentally share it for me, and that's 500 people that get to see my content without me having to spend a dime. That's powerful, guys. That is powerful when you consider where we actually came from and where the world is actually headed. Look at the fact that you're listening to this podcast right now. The fact that you're listening to this podcast right now is proof where the world is headed. We are headed more towards audio. People want to be more productive when they're learning. This is a learning session as well, but you're also getting the opportunity to be productive. You're on the go, you're on the move. So that's why I want to do 120 days of not giving a fuck. I feel like this is going to be good for my peers, my family. I don't even know exactly the topics that I'm going to be talking about, but I do know I'm going to be putting out some very helpful things. My top knowledge and information, the shit that I had to work for, and just hopefully it's helpful for someone else out there. I just want to be an anchor. I want to be a go-to for certain information and not charge a thing, because I'm more focused on building my brand. I want to get to the point to where I don't have to sell anybody anything. And that's the journey that I'm on. I want to give you so much value that you just kind of feel guilty and you want to give me money. And this is just principles that I've learned from some of the most successful people in our world. Okay, so it's been a lot easier for me just kind of studying what others are up to. When I look at my mentors, Eric Thomas, Gary Vee, Tai Lopez, Les Brown, Bob Proctor, they're taking advantage of what's here and what's happening with social media. So it's much more important that we also take advantage as well. My focus right now, honestly, is on the next 10 years of my life. In 10 years, I'll be 35 years old. I really got to start focusing on like my foundation, my pillars. For a long time, I thought being an entrepreneur was all about not working a job, just kind of like figuring things out on your own, eating shit. And don't get me wrong, there is a lot of losing involved in entrepreneurship. There is a lot of losing involved, and you have to be okay with that. As a matter of fact, I'm probably one of the biggest losers that I know as far as entrepreneurship goes. Okay, that's not true. All right, I guess I'm just trying to, make you guys not feel so bad. But I'm a huge loser, okay? And I just want to be honest about that. So, like I said, 25 years old. I don't have a lot of money in the bank. I know what I need to do as far as growing my business, growing my brand, and what I want to develop in as far as skill set. I don't exactly know how. And I know that the strategy is in the execution. The magic happens inside of the execution. So I have to keep executing. Hopefully, with all the execution that I'm doing, like I said, I want it to just kind of be a domino effect on anybody out there that's kind of afraid to move forward with their passion. And I say, start just putting out content. Even if nobody is listening, even if you don't think the content makes sense, just put it out. Let's see what happens. As I said, 120 days of not giving a fuck. And this is me not giving a fuck what you think. So I'm gonna get a lot of compliments for this. I'm gonna get a lot of backlash for it. And I don't give a fuck about either. Fuck your compliment. Keep it. Make your own content and receive some compliments and see how I feel out here. It's an amazing feeling. So I also wanted to talk about a conversation I had with my little cousin the other day. The kid is 19 years old. I think he's been in jail twice already. He's been at odds with his parents, which is kind of normal for someone his age, especially about the direction of his own life. A lot of times parents think that they know it all, and that's just out of love. I get it. They believe they love you, so they're gonna give you the best advice that they feel is possible for you. His dad, which is my uncle, his dad is a very, my uncle is a very tough love kind of guy. He showed us tough love growing up, so I knew it wasn't going to be any easier for my little cousin coming up. Now he's starting to grow into his own man and develop kind of the personality traits of his own dad. And a lot of times when we meet ourselves, we don't always like the person that we meet. And I think that's kind of what's happening. So he's kind of met himself, and his dad has met himself within his own son. He gave my grandma a hard time, my uncle did. He gave my grandma a hard time, and now his son is giving him a hard time. And again, it's all out of love. He thinks he knows what's best for his son, and his son thinks he knows what's best for himself. And so my uncle spent 13 years in jail. This is a guy with, notorious anger issues. He gets upset at a lot of things. He feels easily disrespected. Has a big ego. So it's only natural that his son becomes something similar. And I had this conversation with my little cousin, and he told me personally that sometimes he don't understand where a lot of his anger inside comes from. And his anger tends to force him to do things that gets him in a lot of trouble if he lets it build up. For instance, if he walks into a store and someone accidentally bumps him, well, all that anger he had been building up without releasing, that moment would be an opportunity for him to let it go. And when he said that, it clicked in my mind. And I immediately responded to him by saying, have you ever thought about boxing? And he said he thought about it, but his mom told him that it would be a complete waste of his time. This takes me to another segment that we'll probably get into later about not taking any advice from your parents. It's okay to consider what they're telling you, but at the end of the day, you have to make the decision for yourself, because most parents are just losers and they want you to follow in their loser direction. Okay? So I told him, don't take any more advice from her, because how can you go wrong? You getting in the gym, working out, working on your body, releasing those endorphins to keep your mind right, releasing that anger that's been building up inside of you to keep you doing something positive and working towards something positive. How many ways can that go wrong in the long run? So I told him, don't listen to your mom. And if you got a controlling parent out there who assumes that they just know what's best for you in your life, just assume that college is the end all be all, I want you to think again. Reconsider this whole thing. reconsider what life is itself. It's a game of learning. Look at the mistakes that the people before us made, and we can avoid those mistakes by paying more attention. My parents made so many mistakes. My dad is 50 years old and still wants his GED. Still talking about starting a business, still contemplating on starting a business or starting his comedy career. You don't want to be his age still trying to figure it out. I was listening to Gary Vee the other day, and he said, spend one day at a retirement home, because that shit will motivate the fuck out of you. That one day at that retirement home is gonna do something tremendous. It's gonna let you see what guilt look like in person. Because a lot of times those people have guilt all over their faces. They regret not doing things they wanted to do more of, and they regret doing things they should have did less of. You don't want that to be you. None of us want that. We all want a life that we can look back on and be happy. When you had an incredible day, and your day has just been outstanding, tremendous, progressive, impactful, when you go to sleep that night, you get some of the best sleep you ever felt in your life. I believe the same thing works with death. I believe when you spent the life that's been impactful, worthwhile, adventurous, exciting, worth it, I believe that life or death, the exit of life, becomes so much more easier. It becomes better. It becomes worth it. Nipsey Hussle, who we lost over the last few weeks, rest in peace. Nipsey Hussle became a legend in his death because he spent his life working, impacting, focused on his passion. Now he get to be remembered forever. He'll make it into the next lifetime and into the next universe. Impact. That's what it's about. So back to my little cousin. If you know somebody in this situation, or if you're in this particular predicament where you have an idea of what you want to do with your life, but you're not exactly receiving that support, I got news for you. This is a lonely game on the way to success. It is a very lonely game. There is so much that you have to figure out for yourself. What works for you might not work for others. What worked for others might not work for you. It's a very lonely game. You haven't figured it out until you can sit in a room and do what I'm doing right now, by yourself, producing, creating, impacting, when nobody is watching. Nobody watching me right now. But you gotta have faith that the work you do and the work you put in, as long as your intentions are pure and good, you have faith that the universe will send out your message to the necessary audience. All right? How else did you find this? Okay? So I want y'all to really dig deep. Figure out what's been holding you back. When you dig to the core of things, it's usually self-esteem. It's usually other people's opinions that's holding us back. If that's your parents' opinions, figure out the fastest way, the absolute fastest way that you can declare your independence from your parents. So that way you can live life how you want. Okay? Figure out the fastest way. Do you have to work a job? Do you have to work at McDonald's? Would you have to catch the bus to work for a while? So be it. Do what you have to do. Because you playing a long-term game here. Like I said, I'm focused on the next 10 years of my life. And I don't even think that's enough, but I'm starting from there. We have to plan for the long haul, guys. The long run. Because 9 times out of 10, you're going to be here. If you ever felt an ounce of depression, then I'm pretty sure you had suicidal thoughts before, wanted to die, didn't feel a purpose, just wanted to leave this earth. I've been there before myself. And I know what it comes from. It comes from not having purpose. It comes from not knowing what you should be doing. But that's it for this segment, y'all. Like I said, I want y'all to focus on finding your passion, tuning out other people's opinions, especially your parents if they're giving you advice that you don't feel is helpful or optimistic. Keep up with the channel. Subscribe so that way you get notified when we drop more content. 120 days of not giving a fuck, y'all. So we're going to do this strong. And I'm going to catch y'all on the next one. Hey, if you took the time out to listen to this podcast, and I just want to say thank you so much from the bottom of my heart, y'all. It means so much to me, especially if you can go ahead and hit the subscribe button so that way you can be updated right away as soon as I drop new content. I just want to bring y'all something valuable. So your subscription, your love, your support means so much to me. Also, hit me up if you want to talk about anything else. Peace.